Hello YouTube, and welcome back to another fantastic episode of TimberPunk 2, where our thing came along quite nicely. I'm quite happy with how it looks. It's a good start, I should say. It's a good starting point. This is what I'd like to see coming out of it. Nice little water tower, nothing too excessive, right? Nothing too crazy. Just a little bit of a water storage tank up here. It'll take a little bit to get all this built. But I think the easiest way is probably just tacking into here, building up a couple of beautiful tubeway systems to just plop us right over top of here, and that allows them to build to their heart's content without having to crawl around and up and through and all this other weird stuff. So that's one of the things that we're going to try to get to today. This is fairly low on the priority list, or it's on the list. We'll say that. It's on the list of things that I would like to tackle today. That requires a lot of planks, though, and a few other materials that we're kind of low on right now. And I'd like to actually rectify a bit of that today. So on top of doing a couple of small projects like crawling through the underbelly of the entirety of the world, which includes connecting this side to our tubeway network and then making a nicer, cleaner two-way connection with the rest of the real estate, rest of the map. That is going to take a little bit of time, a little bit of plankage, which we are kind of hurting on right now, which means we've got to expand our plank production facilities, which means we've got to find a way or find somewhere to put all of that. Now, the question is, do we go ahead and start working our way into producing or putting up our industry up here and burn a few of our planks to do that? I think the answer is probably yes. So I'm going to block this access off because I don't want them coming over here and building all that quite yet. I would like that to be on the back burner. I want to get all of our industry up and running a little bit smoother now. And I also should turn this guy back on, or at least get a few of our beavers in here so that they can... Probably don't need all those guys, honestly. We just need one because that's the amount that actually can get into that. So I think what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and throw in a little bit of a beautiful place for our next system of industry. And I wanted to put industry up here just because this is connected to this whole system. I would like to move the majority of this industry up here since we are irrigating the preponderance of the pit right now so that we can continue to produce more foodstuffs and store more foodstuffs. And I'd like to get planks moving a little bit more expeditiously because I have some plans as far as housing is concerned and some storage stuffs, which requires a bunch of materials to get all that up and running. But I would like to move all this housing and the subsequent pathing to said housing up into the cliffside. I haven't done an inside the cliff build yet. I think that would be pretty darn neat. Now that requires us to start blasting a lot of this out, which again requires planks. We have the explosives, we have the extract and so on, but we just don't have the planks right now to do that type of a build. And I would also like to do something similar back here. Because if you look down here, we've got a bunch of real estate that's highly underutilized. And that would be us just coming in here, blasting out a nice huge hole, and we can put in all the storage that we want. And of course, that means that we're going to tie in the tubeway system to this whole storage area that I want to build in there. That one should be a little bit easier. It's just a matter of getting down there and then providing our guys with some sort of access to start punching down and around and all the fun things. So I think that's where all of our wood storage is going to be. And then that can get transported over to all of the other facilities. Like we'll have a hub over here, kind of like what we do right now. Or all the end materials and the basic materials so that we can get the industry up and running pretty easily. At least in my mind, that's how that looks. Whether or not that comes to fruition, we shall see. But I would like to believe that a well laid out plan a plan Has to start from somewhere, okay? And I feel like this is a pretty cool plan. Maybe I'm wrong. I'd like to believe that I'm not wrong. I don't know. We'll see. We shall see. By the way, I've got to figure out a way to get them up here, and we also need to run power over here, so that should be relatively easy. We'll go ahead and grab this. We'll pull this over. We will run this up like such as. Then we can do little jiggery pokery around like this, and then do a little something that's going to be an issue. Nope, we got to go up one more. Boosh, and then we go like this. There we go. This goes up like that. Actually, let's do a little 2 side right here. And then we do a full 6 across. That's going to run into that issue, and that is as well. So that's future me problems, I suppose. Or do we just come across like this? No, because I wanted to... Do I want industry facing this way? I feel like I want industry facing this way so that everything lines up like that. Yeah, let's do that. Go ahead and rip all of that out. We want to rip this out, rip that out, and that out. We want to pull this over one line right here, and then we can run this power line up from here, and then we can just do something along these lines right here and right there. That looks like a 3 going across there and a 3 there. Autosave, you are going to be the death of me. Please stop doing that and giving me a heart attack every time I turn around. That would be appreciated. Then we want probably something like a 3 here. Then a 2 here and a 2 here. I want something like this. This, maybe? Then when we get this all cleared out, we can continue to build across the way like that. And then we just get to put in our staircases like such as. That gives us access to all that. We just grab this, grab here, rip this all the way across this way. And in theory, they should have no issues building all of that. Then what we could do at some point is grab this two-way system that's already poking through here, run this out like that, and then run that into this side so that their lives are a tad bit easier as far as getting all the water and stuffs around. Inadvertent good placement there, I suppose, with that. So we should be able to quickly and very easily access all of that. We do, however, need to have this in a better position. So maybe we'll move this over somewhere else so that we can actually finish the rest of this build. Yeah, I think that's the answer. Sorry, guys. We're going to go ahead and pause you guys. Pause that. Rip that out of here. Grab this. And then we want our triples here. Then a triple there. And then flip this like that. Now that puts us in a good position to go ahead and throw down all of our industrial lumber mills right here. Run across this side, and then we'll be able to very easily come in around this back end and put another line here, and that'll allow us to put in all of our next tier of industry, to include our gear workshops, to include our wood workshops, as well as including our smelters and so on and so forth. But I think that'll be a good starting point as far as getting all that in. We'll go ahead and hit that 3 times speed. That should be their primary objective right now. If not, we'll go ahead and just give this a little plus up. Get this done. I would like to have that kind of industry moving a little bit more nicely. And I did come in, I cleared out a few more paths around here just to try to make the game run a tad bit smoother. You can see it's kind of chugging a little bit right now. It probably doesn't help that I have them coming over here and dumping materials into here, which we can go ahead and just pause all of that. And then maybe just... That's fine. We kind of need all those logs for this build. I'd like to move that over here so that we're better prepared for all of that. Maybe we'll just go ahead and break that line here, as well as break this line here. That'll be unconnected buildings on that end. I need to reconnect this side so that those guys don't get all angry with me. That's okay. This is all disconnected. This should all be disconnected as well as this. So theoretically, that should be running a little bit more smoothly. Hopefully, we shall see. This is cleared now, so we can go ahead and rip that out. You'll see I threw in some dynamite down here in preparation for a little bit of a plan that I have going. I don't know why I put a double there. I could have gotten away with just a singular piece of dynamite right there, but that's fine. We'll get them down into here, and that should allow us to punch down and work around this back end, hopefully. They've already blasted that out. I believe I put something in right here just to prevent the spillage of water in this area. Hopefully that actually met the intent there. We shall see. And I did make a slight modification as far as the water pushing into the system. I pulled this up to 1.75 so that the water can actually go over the dams and fill up these other areas and continue to allow for all of this lumber to actually reach maturity. So in theory, that should continue expanding our total log production in a very good fashion. However, we'll see how that all pans out here shortly. Now, the question is, can they actually reach all of this? We shall see. It appears as though that is yet to be answered. Do I need to come down? We could come down and build all the base scaffolding there. I think I just need to reconnect that portion right there, and that allows them to have access to all that. We'll just break that off right there, and that should allow them to come in and build the rest of that for us. Question is, what are they doing down here? Looks like they're running around this side and doing that. Still have a bunch of flooded buildings, but that's everything that's in this Pooh River that's running through this side right here. I'd like to at some point come over here and rescue all this, get all that scrap metal out of there, but that's pretty low on the priority list. Right now, I'm more interested in getting industry up and running and continuing to put ourselves into a better position as far as housing and total happiness. I don't want to start throwing up all of the monuments that we have access to quite yet, because I would like to put them embedded into the side of the cliff, or the cliff side. And maybe we'll put all of the housing back on this side. Maybe that's a better place for that to go. We can put all of that on top of more overhangs. So we'll have a bunch of overhangs pushing out on top of here, have a bunch of housing, and then maybe a lot of the entertainment on the inside of the cliff. Maybe that's how we'll do that. Or we'll put the housing on the inside of the cliff and then put all the entertainment stuff in front of the housing. Maybe that's the best way of going about doing that. I'm not entirely sure. That would be easier to do since we have the tubeway in there, and we'll just push the tubeway system up and in here, and then we just that gives us access with the tubeway station that we could place in there. Maybe that's the best way of going about doing that. I'm not opposed to doing that, actually. I just need the lumber to move a little bit faster, which in theory, once this gets connected and everything, we should get all of our lumber up and running a little bit more quickly. The question is, did I provide them an easy point of access to all that? Not necessarily, but we should be able to very simply put that in right there, and then throw this in right here, and then now they just grab this and go across, and now they've got 2 points of access to all of that lumber back there. Or they'll just run down into the two-way station over to here, grab the lumber that they want, and move on and about their lives. However that goes, we'll find out. I feel like that should be a relatively easy thing to answer, but we shall see whether or not that's a true story. This is slowly going in. That's waiting on the last few pieces of planks for us, and that means that lumber mill will go in pretty quickly, and that will be a grand for us. Now, I additionally, we have copious amounts of extract. I would like to expand our extract production, but for now we're doing decent. Maybe we could come into the science and unlock the grease factory, which does require power, which stinks. But maybe we could throw that in here and provide them, our bots, a little bit of happiness. Just a little bit. Nothing too excessive. Maybe that'll keep or get this up and running a little bit more quickly. I doubt it, but a guy could dream. So that means that we could probably put in a little bit of storage down here for our bots that are working in these systems. Or a little bit of our grease. And we could probably grab this here. And then throw in an additional... I wanted to put something right there as well, so let's do that. Let's go ahead, do that like that. Grab this, that's too much, so let's go here. I want that to be a 3 then. Yes, 3 there. 5 here. There. There. Maybe we do a 6 there and there, maybe? I don't know. 6. Then we somehow finagle a 2-way station up here. And that can look a little something like this. Maybe? I don't know. That should not look too bad. It kind of looks bad, but it doesn't look too bad. Can I rip this out and then throw in... It'll put us in a bad spot as far as gaining access to that water for a minute, but that's fine for now. We can throw this in right there and then throw this in right here. That'll give us a connection point to that end. And that should make that life a little bit easier. And I'm realizing that that's not exactly what I want to do there. So we're just going to have to rip that out, and put this in right here. Put this in right here. Can't really do that either. I need to seriously get something working properly. We can just do this. How about this? Do 6 deep. Do 5 here. We'll do 6 across here. All like that. Then we'll do this here. 6 that way. Then 5 all across there. And now we can throw this in right here. And then we throw this in right here. And then we throw our 2-way station in right there. Is that ridiculous? Yes. Is it insane? Also yes. But it doesn't look too bad. It kind of looks bad. Maybe if we go one more deep, or we could just put another storage container here or something. I don't know. I don't know, but that should be fine. Need to find a way to get ourselves into that whole system. Now it looks like we've got all these up and running now, and still power is doing decent, so that is a good thing for us. I don't think we're going to exceed our power requirements and or demand anytime soon. These guys are pumping them out. One every 6.3 or 0.63 hours, which is not keeping up with the demand, but we will get there, hopefully, theoretically. That will definitely put us in a good spot later. That's all that really matters. Now the question is, how is this coming along? It looks like I never unpaused that. They threw a few pieces of that in for us, and it looks as though they have cut their way through here, and I have caused a little bit of an issue here. I'm going to clear that out, and I need to put a levee in right here just so we don't fill this whole area up. Give that a little bit of a priority bump just so that we can fill all of that in, and that will be good for us. Hopefully. Please. Please and thank you. Alright, that's plugged up, and that should mean that we no longer have this filling in with water. Now we can unpause this. Hopefully that means that they can get in here and start working the rest of that. Then I would also like to... Yeah, we could go ahead and start throwing some of these two-ways in. Gonna be a little bit of ridiculousness. But it's fine. Everything's fine. I think we need to punch that out right there. Then we can go down. Go ahead and throw this in just for giggles. Okay, we can't throw that in until they give this. But what for? Please, 2 more planks. 1 more plank. I believe in you. There it goes. All right, so now we can rip both of these out. Hopefully that doesn't cause any issues. It didn't. So that's good. Now this goes in like this and like that. And they can work their way that way. We'll probably find a way into here in a bit less of a painful fashion, or we'll just put in a place somewhere and just have them run out one way or the other. We'll get in there. I believe that they did actually tackle this for us. So in theory, this should be blasted out now. So I can take this out and put in a triple dynamite right there, and that will give us a little bit easier access to that end, and maybe we'll be able to meet them in the middle, which would be pretty neat. This is all going in though, so that is fantastic to see. We do have a few bots running around that are causing a little bit of a headache for themselves, but that's fine. Everything is cool, and I am here for it. We can go ahead and block this off because that's no longer needed to gain access to any of those points down there, and that will be a grand. Now let's see here. I would like to figure out a way to gain access to this, pull that over here. Maybe we'll do that whole system back in here, maybe. Kind of want to have this inset to the wall. And we also need it to be at least 3 high. So it's going to look like this. All the way through. And we'll have to probably... Maybe we'll throw dirt in the front. Just so that we can have a place to put everything. Maybe this is dumb. Maybe we don't go that high, and then we have this out like this. And then we do all of our structures like this. Need that one down. They already blew that out. How did they blow that out? Okay. That's fine. I don't believe I've put myself into a predicament where I'm cutting enough of the facility out that we would run into an issue with dirt collapse or anything along those lines, I hope. This might become an issue back here, but we'll have to address that when time comes. So that looks like that. I need to somehow put something here, here, here. I also like to continue to put this dirt in like this. And that dirt in like there. And then I would like this to be blasted out right here. There. There. Probably don't need that to be like that, but that's fine. And it looks like they can still come over the top. They can throw these explosives in for us. Means that we can blast this out. Blast this out. Maybe we go ahead and give them a way up there, which should be relatively simple. We just give them a little bit of a path. A little bit of a path like this. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. But that's what we're saying today. There we go. That should do it. Hopefully. That'll be something they can work on in the background. This is all going in nicely, though, so that is fantastic. That is in. We do need to replace these guys with the bots, because we do not need our beavers hurting themselves in there. Now, sure, they're going to hurt themselves in this industrial lumber mill, but that's fine for now. Okay, that is fine for now. You're going to hit the obtain button here. You guys will need actually a couple things over here now that I'm thinking about it. So let's go ahead and rip out this path here. And you need canola oil and extract. Let's do that like this, and that like this, and that. You'll be grease. You'll be grease as well, but you'll be canola oil and you will be extract. And we'll figure out a way to connect this path up. So these guys have a little bit of an easier trek to get around the house. Should look a little something like this. Maybe we'll come out more or something. I'm not entirely sure. I do want to find out a way to get onto this side too. But this is fine for now. We can clean this up at a later point. That is totally acceptable. I'm willing to accept that as it is right now. The question is, how do we punch into this without causing a flooding incident? Like we did last time. I think that should be relatively simple. It means probably a little something like this. So we'll do... see here. I want that. Go there. Want this to go around that. I also want... no, I need this to go here. Yes. How I want to do this? Go ahead and put this in, not dams. Put that like that. I want this to come across like such as. This to go up one. And maybe this. We also put in this levee here. No, I need that to be uncovered. This is more convoluted and complicated than I had anticipated. That should be fine. I don't know. Maybe. Hopefully. Put this here, I guess, and then we'll have this come over the top, maybe? Is that ridiculous and unnecessary? Yes. Is that necessary? I think it is. Feel like it's necessary? Is there a way to do this that I'm not... Am I just losing my mind here? This goes in here, right? Blocked by this levee, right? Levee blocks the water in this side. This keeps the water from going down into the weird stuff. This goes over the levee system and into here, but there's also a water block there. And then we can just punch into here like this. You're still hurting severely for those planks, though. But this should keep up with that demand slowly but surely. They are consuming them like no one's business, throwing all of these systems in. But given that they have a cajillion places right there, and we can even come over here and pause a few of these, that'll give us 12, or yeah, 6 bots. There's another bunch of bots that we can throw into all these positions, and we can just swap this over. I'm going to remember this copy function that just lets me do this right here, and we'll do that in that. Now we have a bunch of bots all filling in all these positions for us, and I don't have to go back through and click each one of these individually, because I can learn. Well, hopefully I can learn. We'll see. We'll see if I can remember to do that in the future. All right. We are hurting for scrap again. We also have a bunch of beavers over here with nothing to do with their hands, which means y'all are fired. We do have 4 or 9 bots floating around as well with nothing to do with their hands. So we'll go ahead and put them into those positions, let them get back to work like that. We could come over here and tear this out to gain access to all these ruins. I'm not opposed to that idea either. It looks like they are working their way through here pretty nicely, though, so that is fantastic to see. Hopefully we don't break anything by doing this. At least in theory we should be fine. And then we can just grab this path and we can give them a little bit more access to this area back here. We can detonate that. And that means that we can do these overhangs. Do I want 4 or 5 or 6? I feel like 6 is probably the best answer because that gives us a lot more real estate to play with. Let's do 6. We'll fill this little hole in right there. Apparently that was an unnecessary explosion. It's fine. And I do need to give them access to that one higher, so that means that gotta probably come out here and then crawl them up to that area somehow, some way. That shouldn't be that big of an issue, actually, so let's just do that. That means throwing this in right here. So when they build this, they can just go up to that top area. That should be easily accomplished like that. Now we're, of course, waiting on all these beautiful planks to replenish everything, which would be nice. So what I think I'm going to do is we're going to stare at the rest of this for the next 6 to 9 minutes while they continue to blast all this out. And that will provide us with hopefully enough time to recoup the majority of the planks that we need, and then we can start throwing all of our housing into here, and maybe we'll go up another tier and put in even more housing on top of that. But I think it'll look beautiful. Anyway, I'll be right back. You guys stick around and enjoy the speed up montage.
We keep
Alright, that didn't take nearly as long as I thought it would. So that's cool. Go and rip out all of this structure. Hopefully that doesn't break too much. Yes. Okay, we can rip that out and that out and that out. It looks like we lost a small portion there, but that's fine. Now we should be able to just grab these guys, rip that across here, throw in a little bit more dirt right here and here, and then we can do a little bit of an explosion right there. Rip this out as well. Somehow give them access to this area on top right here. Like that. Give them their path back just so they can reach everything. Hopefully they can reach all that stuff. I would love for them to gather this as soon as possible, because that is a lot of planks to recoup, which we're doing a little bit better on now. Up to 300 something. Lumber's still not in the best of spots. It looks like we are tearing through that pretty quickly now, which I'm not complaining about. That just means we probably need to expand our forestry a little bit. And somebody did point out rather smartly that I have all this marked for cutting. Let's go ahead and fix this real quick. Just so somebody doesn't get a smart idea. I don't believe anybody really had access to cutting any of that down, but just in case I do something ridiculous like put them in a position where they could do that, I don't want to have that accidentally causing us any issues. Go ahead and demolish these two. I want to blast this all out, and then we'll put even more trees back here. Have a huge forestry. Yeah, forestry area back in that area. And another small thing that I would like to do is probably put in some water runners back here, and then maybe put in some levees or something just to help move the water a little bit faster this way. That requires probably some dirt, which wouldn't be that big of an issue, and running power up and over the dirt and everything like that. Maybe that's not worth the squeeze right now, but that should be fine for us to tackle at some point in the future. Now that this is all in, that's cool. We can go and blast that out, throw in our 1x6s back in here, and we can start throwing in a little bit of our housing back in here. Just what I wanted to do in the first place with this whole build back here. That can go like that. Apparently I need to fix a little bit of this. This should be fine. I do need to tear this out right here. Now that's no longer necessary. That tore all that down. We can rip this out. And then I'm thinking we cut this area out, and that can be where our tubeway comes in. Maybe that's the cleanest thing to do. So that goes like that. Like that. We can fill in this block right here with a little bit of dirt. We can, when we have the tubeway in, we can then run that down, or rip this out and then have them just run into the tubeway, which should be relatively simple for them to do. Now they cannot reach all of that, so let's go ahead and rectify that real quick. That means that they can reach all of that without too much consternation. We have a lot more housing available to us. We can start moving some of those guys out here, or maybe instead of just... Maybe we'll put all the housing up here now-ish. What do we got to do? We got to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 10 of those, and then 2 of those. We've got 3 right there. That'd just be 6 right here. And then... Did I go too high? I did go too high. I only needed to go 3 high. Whoops. Can we put this on top here, actually? Not decoration, it's rooftop terraces. We can actually fit those up here. So, yeah, that was intentional. It was totally intentional, okay, guys? Yeah, that was intentional. Just like that. Now, how does this all work? Maybe a row house back here? No, I don't want a row house there. A large barracks there. Maybe we could fit a row house right here. Cover that area down. That'll be fine. And rip a little bit more of this out. We can probably go ahead and rip this out right here. It didn't cause any problems there. And then this is a triple down, I believe. Maybe a little bit more. Well, we can just cut in from right here instead of trying to dig in through all of the walls, space, and everything like that. That's totally acceptable. I like that. Maybe this wasn't necessary to go out like that. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Either way, we'll go ahead and blast that out right there. That should... Probably too much. Was that a 3 deep? I think that was a 3 deep, right? We just run this. Through here. Like that. We can just connect up like that. That'll be fine. We are encroaching on the beginning of our drought, which is stinky. But a drought is better than the alternative, I suppose. If we can just go ahead and rip all of this out. Go ahead and pull that out of there. Throw this in here. Push this back against this wall back here. Then put in some more dirt on the front edge, and then we can just run this pathing all the way across the line back here. That goes across like that and that. And apparently that has blocked off my access point that I would like to have had in the first place. Stop building that one. Ooh. Okay, well, let's rip that out, rip that out. Let's put in some dirt right here, here, and here, and just run this forward like that. We can just push up through there and then somehow work our way in through that. Yeah, that'll be fine. All right. You guys can keep working. That's fine. I have my ways. I have a way to rectify my mistakes that I have created for myself. This is fine. That goes there. This goes up. And that goes to there. If we do a little something cheeky like that, then we can just build that path, and that shouldn't cause any issues. It's a 23-day drought, so that's not too egregious. We'll have to find a way to connect that pathing along right there, but that's fine. How much housing did I provide? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This will be 10 here. 11, 12. Now we could continue this along this back end and then provide them an access point to some of this stuff back here. Maybe this 1x6s were a tad bit excessive and unnecessary. I haven't decided yet. Or we can fill this all in with dirt, and it'll be a nice little cave place where they can continue to do beavery goodness things. I don't know. I don't know. Either way, I do want to continue placing these rooftop terraces in here, and we'll give them a way to get up there one way or the other, because this is one of the things that we haven't actually provided them a copious amount of things to do. Okay, that's going in, that's going in. That means they should be able to place that and then place that afterwards as well, and that'll be a good for us. And I would like to actually come over here and start working on this. Let's do that. Let's go singles all across here. We'll pull that all the way. Has to be a bunch of that. And we'll do doubles here. Doubles to there. We'll do singles here. Then we'll do more doubles on the back end. Then it'd probably be smart to come in and do pockets of 1x3s or something along those lines so we can very quickly just start placing all of our water irrigation pockets. We could run water down through here and up into an irrigation pocket, which wouldn't be the worst thing to do. I feel like that would be a little bit harder and more painful than I would like to actually tackle. That is an issue that will get rectified sooner rather than later. Gonna rip that out, and that. Let's, I need them to actually have access to that. That means putting all of that back in. Then they can put this in, and hopefully put this in, and then hopefully put that in once those two places are in. Now that is all. I don't know how they've reached those two. Oh, they came over from the top. That's fine. Then we also want to put in a bunch of this down here so they can entertain themselves when we do have access to all those points. Pull this down so we can make sure that we have that covered, and we do not have all of that covered. Now we do. We could pause these guys for a second. Same for all of that. And then do a little cheeky decoration back here. Just so that we can cover down all of our happiness bonuses that we would like to give them. That should cover everything appropriately, right? It looks like we missed that one. Okay, they did put this in, so let's go ahead and get that ripped back out again. Go ahead and throw in our two-way station right here. We can rip these out, that out, this out. And that just requires us to put in a little bit more dirt. 2 and 3, and that gets us all connected here. That goes... should connect everything, right? Allegedly. All right, we'll let them continue to do all that. It'll take a few more ticks. That should cover down all of the housing requirements back in here, and then maybe what we'll do is we'll put our monuments out on this side. So, monument here. Monument here. Then a Flame of Unity monument here. Then somehow put this Flame of Unity monument right there. Like that. It kind of looks ridiculous. I would like to actually pull all this out and make it a little bit more consistent, but that's fine. Should have access to that. They should be building that. How are we doing? How are we doing with all the grease and such? I guess that's being slow to be produced. This needs to be obtained. You need to be obtained. I'd like to increase our extract production, but that also requires me to come over here and rip this out. We could do something a little ridiculous, like just blast that out, and then that turns into gone and no longer an issue for us, which I'm not opposed to doing, though we are running into a scrap metal issue right now. So let's just we'll throw that in. We should be on our way to this over here, which is taking its sweet time because I have not provided them the means to do all of this in a quick manner. Means we've probably got to focus on that. I would like to get this going. That also means getting access to that a little bit more easily. And that means not doing it through a tunnel. These tunnels take 5 years to do. But it is something that we can work on. All right. So what I'm going to do for the next 6 to 9 minutes is continue running our tunnel system through everything, get us access to this side, and we'll bring you back as we plug in our mine, and hopefully we don't run out of metal blocks in the process while we do all that. So enjoy speed up montage take 2 as I continue to do this shenaniganry and continue to build the rest of this. So enjoy that. We'll see you back here in 6 to 9 seconds. And welcome back. I may have gotten a little bit ahead of myself here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed a little bit of that chaos. Try to do a little bit of cleanup and try to run some power throughout the entire system so that we can actually charge our bots that are going to be working back in here in the mine. We've got everything connected. It's still not the best path-wise. It's at 68. There's not much else I can do about that distance-wise, but these guys are sitting pretty at 45, so they can gain access to all that. Makes their life a little bit easier getting around in here. We've got all of this housing in, so that looks pretty Gucci. We've got plenty of rooftop terraces for all of our friends, and I think we can start tearing all of this out now. I think we'll be fine housing-wise to do that. I think I covered down more than enough housing for everybody. And then we've got 8 more bots floating around, so we should be able to get those guys into another place without too much consternation. I do want to somehow finagle some power up into here, and then we can throw in our additional wander, our Flame of Unity, which shouldn't be that big of an ask. Question is, how are we going to tackle that? And the answer is probably putting it right here. Then probably filling or covering up this entire area with some dirt somehow, some way, so that that gets all covered in, and it's a nice little pocket for all of our beavers to go in and enjoy their lives. Now, with all of this in, now we should put all of our beavers into a bit of a happiness bonus. Because now that they have access to, or now that they are living exclusively up here, everybody should get covered by these wanders appropriately, so their happiness should start to skyrocket here shortly, which is kind of what we want to see happen. Now, this is in finally, which means we can unpause that bad Johnny, and that gets power transferred over here, and that gives those guys plenty of space to do all of the things. Now, I want to prioritize, get some more logs over here. We're doing really well on planks now, so getting all of those additional systems in seems to have done us quite the goodness here, which is a fantastical thing for us. And these guys are ripping out the last few pieces of scrap metal for us, so that'll be really good. We have been running really low on scrap, so it is a good thing that we did get this in before we dip too low in the metal blocks department. So that is fantastic. So what we're going to do now is, once we have all of this in and out of the way, which I should be able to just hit this button here without much issue, we can go ahead and plug in the last few charging stations right here. Get those all plugged in, and now we grab this bad Johnny, this efficient mine, we flip this around and we throw that in, drop in our 4,000 science on that. We swap this over, burn the 1,000 science on that, and we do efficient scrap metal. Now, all the materials should be on hand right here, ready for that to go in. So it shouldn't take too long, in theory, for them to run all of that around and into this system, which will be really, really nice. And then all of our builders should just go in and charge all of this up for us. Looks like they're able to do so. Yeah, all of our builders are coming in. They're charging as necessary and then throwing all the materials in here quite nicely. And then the only thing that is required is just to get the treated planks processed and moved over here in a decent enough fashion so that we can meet the demand as far as this material is concerned. Now, I don't know why they've left just one poor beaver here to finish all this off, but that is fine. What we're going to do is we're going to, in the episode here, while this is all going on in the background, if you guys did enjoy this episode, please hit that like button. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. I would appreciate that as well. And I look forward to seeing y'all in the next episode of TimberPunk 2. Enjoy yourselves. Stay safe out there. Don't do anything dumb, dangerous, different. I'll catch you on the flip side. I'm out. See ya.